Thank you all for coming. This is my little presentation on the LEGO Design Internship. My name is John Klapheke, and I am currently a junior in college from Kentucky. And just kind of a little intro about myself. I was fortunate enough to do an internship with LEGO. I get a lot of questions about it, how I applied for it, how everything came together, as it were. And so I hope this presentation will kind of shed some light upon that. This convention especially is really full circle for me to kind of just share this experience with everyone. Those are really good legs. And yeah, so let's get into it. This internship really gave me a cool peek behind the curtain of LEGO, and I'm just thankful to everyone in the community that made that happen. So let's take a peek behind the curtain. The structure of this talk is really going to be just kind of my background with the LEGO community, the specifics of applying for the internship. A lot of people ask me about that. My experiences, obviously, in Denmark, life at the LEGO group, and then if we have time, any questions at the end. So, my background, I've basically been a fan of LEGO since I was about 3. My first real creations were making small TIE fighters out of like 1x6 bricks, and they were made about as well as a real TIE fighter is. You know, the Rebel Alliance could easily destroy them, but they were really fun to just, it was really fun to just kind of swoosh around the room. So as a very typical LEGO fan, I really started seriously mocking when I was 14. I posted on like Lego.com, Flickr mock pages, the usual places, Eurobricks eventually as well. And I started a job at Bricks and Minifigs, which is a new and used LEGO store. It sells aftermarket LEGO, and around 15. And that really helped me connect to the LEGO community further. And then going to college, I'm basically known as LEGO John on campus. LEGO managed to manifest itself in a lot of my college projects. People really know me for my LEGO hobby on campus. So, how did I hear about this internship? Well, there's a website called Glassdoor.com. It's very similar to LinkedIn, Indeed.com, any place that you would find a job. And I had created an account on there and selected that I was interested in working for LEGO, working for design, maybe even working in Denmark. And then I forgot to subscribe from the trillions of emails that you get from these places each day. So every day I would be swiping through my inbox, deleting these. But one email said, "Are you interested in being designer at LEGO?" And I thought, too good to be true. I clicked on it, and it redirected me to LEGO's website where they advertise their available jobs and internships on their website. And so I found out more of the requirements, which were, in a very brief sense, requiring some sort of major with a design discipline, so in college, working a minimum of 37 hours a week, a full work week basically, and my university required that in order to do an internship, you had to have at least 12 credit hours from the university. So I proceeded to do the application process, which is pretty similar to any application process you would think of for any job. And that looks like this. So basically my first application was submitted to LEGO. I included my portfolio, my cover letter, a little resume talking about some of the experience that I've had, and I was asked to reapply during December because there was some issues with visas having run out for LEGO for non-EU members since I was applying from America. So a lot of people ask what I included in my portfolio, and it's pretty interesting because a lot of it is not LEGO, although in this presentation I'll show you some slides from it. So my portfolio in some starts out with just some architecture stuff I've done in SketchUp, basically. So rendering stuff like a 3D model, things like that. I also included a section about my photography, as it's kind of a hobby of mine. Wanted to show I had different artistic disciplines, I guess, if you will, a little bit of variety in each area. Also some filmmaking. I've done some traveling and I enjoy making YouTube videos. I've had a lot of experience editing films, a lot of inspiration from a lot of content creators. And then that kind of segued into the section where I talk about LEGO. So I wanted to include something that showed a sketch, some dimensions. Here I have a little cathedral, Shard Cathedral. And all of these, each slide was really done with very intensive purpose. They're tried to make it as clear and concise as possible. I also made a modular building, which just showed some different shots as you might see on a LEGO box. So I kind of tried to stylize the portfolio as you might see something from LEGO. Also, I included just some various other builds that I've done in the past. medieval, microscale, some fun stuff. This top right one, actually, funny enough, was a creation that I submitted in 2014 for a little Lego creative competition on their website. And I managed to eventually win that and was blogged by the man who would eventually be my brickmate and brick mentor, which I'll get to later. So, also included the Indiana Jones vignettes. They're here on the display floor. You might have seen those. Those are pretty fun. There's 24 different ones, and they all are representative of kind of each little scene from each movie. So that's basically the sum of the portfolio I submitted. There are a few other pages that I didn't include, just kind of some text about myself, but a lot of it I try to make as clear and clean cut as possible. Submitted it as a PowerPoint file, no transitions though. But yeah, so April 17 was my first interview via Skype. And this was a very kind of simplistic interview, kind of a little bit get to know me. There was an explanation of the logistics for the internship for non-EU members, since evidently a lot of the internships LEGO has are for people that live in the European Union. It's easier to apply. You don't have to deal with visas and traveling and such. So there were a lot of added details about it. Again, question about my personality, working within a team. What type of experience have I had with that? And then more details about the application process, paperwork that needs to be submitted and received. So then, 8 days later, I had a second interview via phone call with eventually the person that would be my team leader. And this interview was more tailored towards specifically my LEGO hobby, not so much working in a team. So I was asked about my background in the LEGO community, talked about going to conventions, mocking online and such. I was asked about my approach to how I design a specific model. So just kind of my thought process. Do I make sketches? Do I look for pictures online? Do I just sit down and build? Do I use digital designer, anything like that? A little bit of a question about my personality, working within a team as well. Where do I see myself on the spectrum of like a person that's working in a team? You know, someone that works well with computers? Do I lead a team? Where do I fall into that category? And there's a big emphasis, as you would imagine, on being a team player, because LEGO is a team and functions as such. So, May 30th, I was accepted. 5 days after that, it was very quick, and I was really excited. I actually realized, told my parents, who I have here with me, I told them very casually in conversation, I was like, oh, by the way, yeah, I got the internship, and they were ecstatic just as I was. But the next steps were filling out just a little bit of paperwork. I'm actually still working on it. I'm not even kidding. I got an email at 4 this morning from the apartment saying I still need to finish some paperwork with LEGO. So I thought I had completed everything, but just a little bit of paperwork. Oh, I'm joking. It's loads of paperwork. There's a lot. So I'm going to briefly go through that. This is not the fun part of the talk, but if you really want to work at LEGO and you want to apply for this internship, this is stuff that you need to know about and stuff that I had to kind of find out the hard way, especially being outside the EU. But thank goodness we got it done. We're still getting it done in the process. So quick overview of the paperwork. One is obviously registering with the LEGO Group as an employee. It's pretty self-explanatory. You apply for a temporary residency in Denmark. So the city I was to be working in is Billund, which is, as you know, the headquarters of LEGO. That's where they do most of their, all their designing, I should say. Registering with the Danish bank. So it was a direct deposit, my salary, I guess, to Danske Bank account. Managing a pension plan as well, registering with Setwall, which is welcomes you into Denmark, and Dias, which is the, how do I word this, I guess the residency company that interns stay with. And also the last one was course approval forms and creation of my courses from my university. So I had to collaborate from my university in Kentucky with about 15 different professors, signing different papers, getting course approvals, and again, fulfilling that 12-hour credit that I had to for working at LEGO. So I was able to create my own course, which is like photo documenting my experiences in Denmark. The internship itself counts as a 6-hour credit course, and then the remaining 3 credit hours were for an interdisciplinary course about traveling abroad. So with that, I was ready to go to Denmark. I had been informed that I would be working with Creator Expert. Basically, what I knew is that I would be creating concept models for Creator Expert 2020 and 2021 portfolio. The tentative plan was to be working in that team throughout the duration of the internship, which was August through December 2018, basically. I knew my team leader would be Jamie Berard. I knew my brick mate or brick mentor would be Mike Psyche. And I knew my apartment was about 7 or 8 minutes away from Lego. And that's all I knew. So it was kind of, there's a lot of stuff I went into blindly, jumping kind of headfirst into this. I have this, like, there was time to fly to Denmark. That was supposed to be clever. And there was time to fly to Denmark, yeah. And this is like very cheesy footage. For me, this is not high quality video, but this is the first steps in Denmark. And I was just really excited to be there. And I was ecstatic. I mean, just, it was a dream come true. It's been a dream come true. And we're going to replay that, aren't we? Okay, get this real quick. Next slide. Oh, we're going to continue to replay it. Okay, so my first initial step was to explore Denmark. I had never been in this country. I wanted to see what it was all about. So I'm a very big photographer. I love architecture, so I got a lot of pictures of the Danish architecture. This is a town hall / part of a church in Vejle, which is a city that's about 40 minutes away from Finland. But I also took video of some of my traveling in Denmark. Had kind of like the classic GoPro shot, if it plays. And ignoring traffic rules in here. I was just trying to get some cool footage, but this is in Vejle, I think, and Denmark is a beautiful country when it's sunny. A lot of the time, though, it's a little rainy and cold, so you have to kind of adjust yourself accordingly. But yeah, totally ignore where I bike across the pedestrian walk. We don't, and drive on the wrong side of the road here. Okay, let's go to the next slides. Let's just do that real quick. Okay. Anyway, so during my travels, I did a lot of photo documentation for my class. I was issued a company bike, which is really only meant for just riding on sidewalks. I quickly changed that into an all-terrain vehicle and would go hiking with it and like going across all sorts of terrain. It might have been in the bike shop 3 or 4 times throughout the time at Lego, but also got to visit the Wave in Vejle. So it was time to start at Lego, and I had met the other interns that were with me. Now, about 200 people applied for this internship. There were a total of about 20 interns from all over the world, including Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, UK, Hungary, Denmark, and then one American. That was me. So this was kind of like the ultimate study abroad trip. I had never dormed with people before, let alone people that were outside my country, and I had the pleasure and very fun time of getting to know all these people. They were awesome. A lot of different teams, everywhere from prototyping to Lego City to confidential themes that I can't talk about, but also my creator expert theme, and a lot of fun stuff. So I met up with them, and August 13 rolls around, and it's time to start the first day at Lego Innovation House, the mecca of Lego design. And as you've probably seen this building before, with the privacy shutters, photos aren't allowed. So it's difficult to talk about what's on the inside of it, but the public atrium, I can show you a little bit. So when you walk in, you see this, the big 85 standing for the 85th anniversary of Lego, and behind the closed doors lie very awesome secrets in the world, lots of creativity and such. But walking into this room, it was the fulfillment of everything that I've ever wanted to do with Lego. I got to meet right off the bat some designers, really just, words can't describe the feeling walking into the Lego Design Innovation House. It's an awesome place. But once you go past those doors, confidentiality is key. So I have to adhere to that. So unfortunately, I didn't get to have a picture of my desk or anything, but I did my best to kind of recreate it in Lego form. So here's a very brief overview of what a day at Lego looks like. Its typical work hours are 9 to 4 p.m. Obviously you have pretty much unlimited bricks. It's a very fun, engaging work environment. There's lots of cake. And living in Billund, everything's pretty close to you. Now that's really general. I'm going to go into more details on that, but that's how working at Lego goes. Funny story, these desks elevate, and they are very high quality desks. Unfortunately, during my internship, one of the motors in the desk broke and subsequently crashed in the middle of the design facility with all the designers working on it, looking at me. Everything that was on my desk, not the monitors and not the lamp, but everything that I was working on my desk fell to the floor. And I had to very quickly clean it up and explain, and it was chaotic, but it worked out well. So biking to Lego in the morning is a 7-minute bike trip, like I said. It's about 2 kilometers away. I lived at this apartment area called Graupoyen, which is a very nice little communal area, and then you bike in front of Lego House rather, to Innovation House. So it's a very cool place. And here's a little more details about what my specific jobs and tasks were during the internship. This photo is in the public atrium of Innovation House. Building concept models, so early development for creator, expert. A lot of what would happen is they would say, hey, we're thinking about such and such. Could you go online, find some images of it, throw it into a PowerPoint, present it to us, kind of make a mood board, and then effectively make a very rough sketch of it in bricks. Once I made a sketch in bricks, you would attend a design meeting, usually about 7 or 8 people from my team. You would present it. It's kind of a little round table. They would give very, very excellent advice, very decisive advice, and very deliberate with their words on what they wanted you to improve upon with the model. Design meetings also vary for company-wide as well, so company-wide updates I would often be in attendance with. Assisting designers with their models and providing feedback, as I saw necessary as an intern, but you're a little hesitant to, but they really do want your feedback on it because Lego is trying to make a product to the best of its ability, and it's exciting to be in part of that model design process. There are also company-wide exhibitions where they would bring in kind of the entire Lego portfolio for 2020 or 2021, and each person would set up with their respective teams. I would assist in carting over creations and sometimes setting up my own builds too. And then a very fun one was smaller projects for internal affairs. Lego is a fun company, and so there are a lot of things that they have, such as maybe birthday presents or things like that, that sometimes interns are asked to build. So I had the pleasure of doing that a few times as well. So the team I worked with, it was crazy. I had the pleasure of working with Jamie, Lars Joe, Mike, Roke, and Carl, and then some confused kiddo up here at the top. It was mind-blowing. I've watched these guys on YouTube since I was like, 10 years old, and I dreamt that like maybe I would be able to meet them at Brickworld, maybe just shake their hand, talk with them for 30 seconds. I went to lunch with these guys, I worked next to them. I mean, it was mind-blowing, the experience, and it's hard not to get emotional when I see this picture because it encompasses so much fun I had there. But let's talk about what's on the inside of Innovation House within the confidentiality limits. So I did a lot of research online trying to find public domain images of Innovation House, and I was able to find some. Lego evidently posted some pictures of the original brick stock when it was initially published, so you can see the picture credit is there. And this is kind of a little taste of what the brick stock looks like. You basically have the ultimate Lego collection. There are pieces in quantity beyond your wildest dreams, and it's regularly updated. And that's about all I can say about it. But it is a really incredible time going through 30-something grocery aisles of brick and just picking out what you need. I'll tell you, coming back to my big Lego collection at home was really frustrating. It's like, well, I know that's in row 30A aisle, like shelf B, and you can't. And it really spoils you, to be honest with you, because you have literally everything at your disposal. Here's another picture I managed to find online, same photo credit, kind of working within Lego. Doesn't exactly look like this anymore, but you have an open workspace with lots of access to Lego. Desks are arranged communally, but you also have a little bit of privacy so you can work on your models. Colleagues are always willing to give help and lend help and give advice whenever you need it. You can literally just walk over to different teams and say like, hey, if you're not busy, I was just wondering about building such and such. Do you have any tips for me? And we had a really fun time. We had 1 week where we kind of collaborated with different teams, and I had the pleasure of working with another team. And it was really fun. It really challenges you beyond what you're normally building as a hobby, beyond what you're normally building for the internship, to work with these people, and they're amazing. Here's another image I managed to find. So this is a design process, and I do have, this has been approved for public knowledge. I asked one of the managers, like, I'm thinking about giving a presentation on this. Can I talk about this? Yes, it's Lego's actually posted about it. So each model has a different design trajectory, basically. Some models are obviously larger, some are smaller, like some need a lot of refinement, others not so much. But each model usually starts with a concept picture, an idea, maybe a sketch, something like that. This is pretty common knowledge. But you make a sketch out of bricks, like I was talking about earlier. So you have a very rough idea of it. Sometimes it could literally just be a few pieces, a few hundred pieces. Sometimes you go for the full model with full functionality and such. design is often refined and sees dramatic changes. Often the first concept model, the first iteration to the final, they don't even look alike at all. It's still the same thing, still its essence of what the subject matter is the same, but it looks very different. And tests are occasionally conducted. Sometimes with a model that has functionality, you're asked to test it out. So I'm sure you all have seen the Stranger Things model. I was asked at one point to try to flip the house and see how I would flip it, so that the designers could kind of get an idea of how they would construct it. So, all in all, that's corny, but all in all, the community of LEGO is really where it shined most. I had the pleasure of meeting so many amazing people, regularly working with them. I had a chance to go to Scarebeck, which is the center picture there, actually these two pictures here, and meet some really amazing people. And this is what LEGO is about. It's a hobby that unites people together, really just brings people closer, and I'm really grateful for this blessing that was the internship, and glad to share it with you guys. So, thank you. It actually took a lot less time than I thought it would. So I allotted 50 minutes because they had it like for 30, 50, something. I'll just overkill. But if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them as much as I'm able to. Yeah.
Did you find out why you were decided to be on the expert team as opposed to being on like new concepts or?
Yes. So a lot of my stuff that I submit in my portfolio is kind of reflective of what expert does. So I think because like you have the creator modulars, they kind of like that. That's kind of a creator-esque thing. I should have mentioned this in my presentation. Out of the 20-something interns, I was one of 2 LEGO fans. Right, it's shocking. So yeah, so a lot of these guys for their college or their university, they have to complete an internship somewhere. And so for the people who are going to university in Denmark, it's like, well, I'm working in design. I could either go into furniture or a little bit of architecture, or I could do LEGO. And so they choose LEGO. But yeah, fortunately at the end of the internship, everyone was converted to being a LEGO fan. But like initially I could only have one conversation with a person, like talking about mock pages or mocking, like a lot of them were, what's mocking? So LEGO is looking for fans or potential fans of all different types. And I think because they saw me as like a really diehard extreme fan, they said, well, we'll put him on expert. So yeah. Yes?
What was your major in college?
Yeah, oh, I should have mentioned that too. I have 2 majors right now in university. I'm a communications and design art technology, which is just a very generic design degree. The communication part, I'm able to do an internship because I had a lot of electives. That's actually why I chose that major in college. And I have a minor in photography as well. However, post-internship, I'm thinking of maybe changing to business marketing or some other like digital design or something like that. So, yeah.
In your opinion or in your experience, how interested is the LEGO company in Bionicles? Like, did you have access to Bionicle pieces?
Let me think. Well, here's the thing. In as much as I'm able to say this, like, they have pieces that are out of production that you have access to. So technically, yes, I had access to Bionicle pieces. That's about what I can say. Yeah. They're aware of Bionicle. They've heard of Bionicle. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have to be proficient in Photoshop like early on to?
I personally, the 2 programs I used the most were Word and PowerPoint. Word for maybe drafting emails or something like that, and PowerPoint for just like creating a little mood board. A lot of designers do use Photoshop. In fact, my brick mentor, Mike, whenever he's scaling certain models of certain things for certain projects, that's really specific, I know, but he'll use Photoshop to like scale it. So if you're making like whatever, you basically take a blueprint of that and then scale it up, and then you can match it 1-for-1 studs. So you're basically just kind of building off the picture so it's size accurate, everything like that. But short answer, no, I didn't use Photoshop much. Yeah?
When do you decide to make new pieces for sets?
Well, that's part of the design process that's publicly known, I guess. So I think a lot of it is that each designer is allotted a certain amount of money for a model. And so depending on how many SKUs they use, you can basically say, well, if I'm building a model of this, do I want to include minifigures? Because those cost some. But if there's absolutely no way to remedy a problem, then a new piece is looked into. And so that's taken to element design where they can say, okay, well, do we want to try to use this? A lot of the interns were drafting new pieces and they would 3D print them and test them. But that's kind of how that's decided. And it is decided with a lot of, they're not willy-nilly about it. They really say like, is there absolutely no way to remedy this? And they'll even take that issue to other teams. That actually came through the expert area a lot. If there were things that needed to be remedied, my brick mentor, Mike, is an absolute genius with Lego. He's like got a mechanical engineering degree from Cornell. So he's insanely, he knows Lego like better than anyone I've met. He's very incredible with what he does. And so he would often find out like, oh, well you can just use this and not even, and eliminate the problem of having even to make a new piece, which is pretty cool, so, yes?
Will we someday see a John piece that you design?
No. My tasks in this internship were really to assist in model building.
Mm-hmm.
So you might see a set soon that I was asked to design a very small part of. And you will definitely see sets in the future that I made early concept models of that I guarantee they're probably not going to look even remotely the same.
So it won't look as good?
It'll look a lot better than what I did. Beyond the shadow of a doubt. Yeah.
How would you compare your building design process from before you started Lego to what it was like during, maybe after you worked at Lego?
Dramatically different. I don't do illegal techniques anymore. Or if I do, like for the first few months, well, because that's the thing. I know, but that's the thing. So there's a running joke in the design office. There was a running joke in the design office of Mike, my brickmate, would always get on me for trying to insert like flex tubing into things. We couldn't even making something that didn't even have to do with flex tubing. And I was like, you know what we should put in that? Flex tubing. He's like, you're gross and disgusting. Never bring that. So what I did for my sweet revenge was at the end of my internship, I made a minifigure of me holding a piece of flex tubing and I stuck it to his computer. I don't know if he's noticed it or not, but no, my design, like the way I design things, I think I'm definitely now looking more like opening Google and searching for something like personally, just as myself, I'm making a castle mock now. To eventually display at Brickworld or something, and I'm using Studio or Stud.io to design it, and I'm looking at a bunch of castle pictures. I have a whole folder on my desktop that's specifically allocated for like castle builds. But when I was at Lego, I would have folders on my desktop for other projects I was working on. It took a bit of getting used to, in fact. I was kind of a difficult person to train because I had been building for so long as a mocker, whereas the other interns, all they've ever known is building within systems, so I think maybe for them it might have been easier just to build within system. Yeah. Yes?
I'm guessing this one comes in the first couple months of an internship. Was burnout ever an issue where like your work just sort of starts blending into your hobby?
It was, yeah, actually, and it's a part that kind of scared me initially, but when you initially come into Lego, you're so excited to have access to billions of pieces, and you want to build a model all the time, and there's this like kind of a little bit of a pressure to constantly be creative. But what I found is you really have to just relax and just kind of let the bricks guide you. It sounds superficial, but when I was building one of my concept models, I was really trying hard, and one of the designers said, you literally just build, let everything kind of remedy itself, and ask people for advice. I built a total of 2 mocks while I was there. And you have to obviously get approval of it before you post pictures of it, and I did. But one was a miniature castle, and the other one was like a spaceship. And those took way longer than they should have, because many a night I would just kind of be a little tired of building. I want to go home, maybe work out for a bit, play some video games, catch up on schoolwork, and shoot some videos or something like that. But I think if you stay paced with just letting the bricks guide you, as it were, and really focusing on the advice other people give you, you won't get as burnt out. I think it's kind of a learning curve, though. Had I worked a full year there, I think the latter half of that would have been a very more relaxed design process for me, rather than a panicked, always trying to impress them, be on my best behavior, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Are there any sets out now that you can say you saw in development or you worked on at
Yeah, absolutely. So the Stranger Things one was one that I saw the first like week. I was at Lego. Let me think, is it out yet? Yes, it is. The newest modular, the burnt orange one, that I saw like my first day at Lego. And then I guess most recently the lunar lander. I worked next two or three desks down from the guy that designed that. So it was really cool to see those models in development. And there's some really cool stuff coming, just saying. But maybe, yes. Yes?
What was the internship process and the security or?
Absolutely.
As far as, is there a legal obligations and background checks with that, or how do they handle that?
I don't think there are background checks. I definitely had to sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement.
Mhm.
And the actual innovation house is 3-card access, so I have a little like just lanyard or keychain that I would have to bleep, bleep, bleep to get past certain doors. As an intern, actually as a Lego employee, you have different bricks on your brick badge that tell what access you have to certain areas. And because I was a set designer intern, we'll call it that, I had access to a lot, but there were certain rooms I wasn't allowed to go into, even of products that I had already seen and actually helped with, just because by virtue of that room, no one without this certain color of stud on their badge is allowed to go into. So, I'll mention too, like unrelated, but the town of Billund really is a Lego town. Most major buildings that you see anywhere are belonging to Lego. It could be the employee shop, it could be the Lego Idea House, it could be an extension of like, Modulex, this one plastic company there. There are a lot of buildings that Lego owns and has control over there. So it's really cool to see how much influence Lego has had over Denmark. I also had the privilege and honor of going through like the initial paperwork that was filed for themes like Galador and stuff like that. I never thought I'd be interested in it, but like there we were going through like the legal documentation files and copyrights of Galador and such. It was really cool to like see. I don't like Galador, sorry, but it was really interesting. It was like, wow, the spaceship is cool, the purple spaceship, yeah. But anyway, yeah.
Whereabouts are you from in the U.S. and how did that compare to your living experience in Billings?
I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. Oh darn, I'm not wearing a shirt. I have my backpack. We pronounce it Louisville, that's Louisville. So that's
Oh,
yeah,
I've been there.
yeah. Yeah, you have. It is, so Louisville is a town of about 700,000 people. Billund is 5,000. So living space is smaller, weather is significantly different. I didn't have my car, which I didn't realize how spoiled I was, because I would be like, well, I'm just gonna use my car. I'm like, oh, I have to bike there, I have to take the bus. That was actually one of the things I miss my parents too, but yeah. But like, my car, I was really missing my car. I was like, I want to drive, like, and but drastically different. Like everything is much closer. You can always bike within distance, except for Sundays when I would go to church. That was like a 40-minute bus ride. But yeah, everything is within walking distance, essentially. Yeah. Yeah.
Favorite project that you can talk about that you worked
Favorite
on?
project I can talk about. There is something coming soon that I had the privilege of making like the first iteration of. So in a sense, that's kind of my baby, but it will be, I think, talked about later this year. It's really frustrating. I've attended seminars where like designers would talk about their experiences, and I was always frustrated like how little they could talk about, because they're like, there's something really cool. And I was like, if I work at Lego, I'll never do that. I'll try to be a little more and use better words. There's something really cool coming. Sorry. Darn. Did you have a question? Yeah.
Yes. Was you able to pick up on much of other languages? I'm assuming English was used most of the time.
English is mandatory that you at least know it within Lego. I can say I'm eating an apple in Danish. Jeg spiser æble. And that's it. Tak, thank you. Nej tak, no thank you. I would do challenges with myself. This is probably really rude, but I would do challenges where I would try to go to the grocery store and say as little Danish as possible. And I managed to, in one trip, say 3 words in Danish. Hi, no, and thanks. and then like they probably thought I was like the rudest person ever. But Danish is a very difficult language to learn, from my understanding. A lot of it is pronounced from the back of the throat, so it does take some getting used to. Even the designers that have been there for 6 or so years, they're just now getting into the groove of speaking in Danish. But English was the language we communicated in. Yeah. Yes.
You mentioned that like your schedule would normally be like 9 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
Were you ever required to kind of put in crazy overtime hours or weekends?
No. Lego is very, very concerned about the health of their customers, or their employees, and they want to ensure that, and the health of their customers too. They would really emphasize to me, like, if you don't feel well, don't worry about it. Just try to make up the hours when you can. There was one week where I would stay crazy late, like 8 or 9 at night, so I was maybe putting 12 hours a day. That was by my own choice, though. And so Lego really wanted to make sure that if you were working too much, that you took some time off, anything like that. So they were very respectful of their employees' health and their customers as well. Yeah. That was such a PR answer. Yeah.
Did interning at Lego open any opportunities for future employment, do you know?
Yes, and I think it's because I obviously expressed a lot of interest at working at Lego that, you know, I would kind of talk about it and say it was my dream to work there, and I'm sure that if I wanted to go back, they would consider me at least. The amount of connections that I have with people, a lot of people I have friends on Facebook, so I try to keep up with them occasionally. But yeah, I think the answer is yes to that.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yes?
How many people does it employ?
There are about 300 designers that work in Innovation House. Yeah. And in Bill and I don't know. There actually, do you know how many there are?
Sorry?
How many employees are there in Bill and total?
Like employees in Bill and around 6,000, designers around 300.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
What's up with the cakes?
Cakes. Anytime there is an excuse for cake, there's cake. You stubbed your toe and it feels better? Let's have cake. It's your birthday? Tons of cake. Like it's there's a lot of it is for like breakfast. If there are design meetings, there'll be cake or pastries present, danishes quite literally. Sorry, it's bad pun. But you'll have a lot of cake. Just for meetings, and lunch is often served at the canteens. For my birthday, I turned 20 when I was in Denmark. I basically brought in just some random cake that I bought in a bakery, and I was on my way to work, and I was like, I'll take this one, this one, this one. Turned out to be a Danish tradition. It was the Othello cake. Turned out to be a big hit, and I accidentally purchased it. Didn't mean to, but it went well over with the designers. So, cake is very essential to Lego design process. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What's your favorite Lego game?
Prayer expert, I think. And that's why it was really a dream going there, was because I was so excited. Like I've always followed their sets with great interest, and like I was just super excited to be a part of it. Second place is Indiana Jones, which was like 2008-ish or something. That's what really got me like seriously building into Lego. So, yeah.
So you were talking about illegal techniques earlier. What are some of the illegal techniques that are really frowned upon in your life?
Like stupid. Specifically, pieces that I would say, well, if you look at it from this angle, it doesn't look bad. And they like look at them, and the designer's like, John, we need to have a talk. So, I think anything that like compromises the stability of the model, specifically like, I don't know, wedging stuff into place, or if there are any gaps. Gaps are something that are always tried to, they try to resolve those as much as possible. Again, my brickmate Mike was a genius at doing that, because I would try to work with something for several hours and say, well, there's no way to resolve this gap between such and such, and he would figure it out immediately. So, yeah. Did you have a question?
Is the internship offered every year?
To my knowledge, it is. It's offered every half year, so like first half year, second half year. They post that about on their Lego website. When I was assembling this presentation, I actually checked to see if they had it up there, if they posted it yet, and I don't think they have, for the one in Denmark, that is. But yes, it's, to my knowledge, it's offered every year, twice a year. Yeah.
So you mentioned that other interns were working on like art drafting. So is element design just another section of this internship, or is that listed something different?
Yes. And when I applied, actually, I didn't know. Obviously, I'm being quite honest with you. Like, I had hoped. It was this crazy dream. I was like, what if I applied for this internship? And what if I got to work on sets? And what if it was with Creator Expert? And all that happened. But you don't apply specifically for any theme or part designing. Each model designer, it has their own theme, obviously, but each part designer, sometimes they specialize in like doing stuff for Expert or other themes. Yeah. Something else over here? Yeah.
Having access to their brick stock, did you take away any organization as far as the brick having your bricks at home? Like, were you surprised or vice versa? Were you like, why don't they have their bricks a certain way? Or?
Initially, my Lego room at home, I use U-line containers that just clip on and off to the wall, so you can kind of rearrange it. Turns out Lego actually uses U-line containers in theirs as well, except it's on a shelf. The main thing is, it is like Bricklink inside there. They have every piece of every iteration. It's currently like, so I don't know, if anything, it encouraged me to like organize every piece specifically. So I go home to my sand green collection and say, this is just a disorganized mess. I should have all the clips here and all the specific clips of this here, and like all my plates. They have every piece organized in every way. And it's done not through color, but kind of functionality. So all the plates are here, all the clips and such are modified bricks, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What percentage of your salary did you reinvest back in the Lego replacement?
Oh, next question. Here's the thing. I had 6 pieces of luggage coming back, and every one of them was stuffed with Lego. I think I got a great discount at the store, and I made use of that, and my apartment became crammed with Lego. One of the interns actually was very ingenious. He showed me his wardrobe closet, and then once I hit his clothes, and then from here to here was just stacked with Lego boxes. He was like a Tetris expert, and he had perfectly crammed everything. But the percentage of my salary, I don't know. I spent probably over like 1K on Lego there, but that was. Hey, Mom and Dad. That was a lot. But
Danish kroner, right?
Yeah.
Enjoy that power bag.
Yeah. But I was able to. Yeah, it was great. You have access to a lot of stuff at a very discounted price, so it's kind of hard not to, because you're like, what's that extra, $10 is gonna do? I mean, it's not too much, is it? And then you come out of the store and you're like, oh, I have to bike home with this. Oh, and then you're like, so you're doing this and like trying to bike, you're not getting hit by traffic. Yes.
Were there any inside jokes or pranks?
Yes, there were a lot. Let me think. Well, a lot of Danish is used. My team was hilarious. They used the Danish word "boog" for building, and so often the advice I would say, like, Mike, what do I do to resolve this? Just boog, man. Just boog. And that was the. There was what's the Danish word? Forstå means to understand, but which has been Americanized and Europeanized and slightly Danishized to verstehen. And that was like, well, do you verstehen what I'm saying? There's a lot of inside jokes, yeah. So many inside jokes. And really, it's reflective of like the work environment, because everyone is really a kid at heart, which is great. And so to have a very professionally functioning environment, but still at the end of the day, be able to, just have fun with your pals, like that makes for a really productive team. And Expert especially, they have a great sense of humor. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You mentioned in the design process, like concepting and sketching.
Yes.
How much of that fell on you, or was there an in-house concept artist that you kind of took advantage of, like the stuff that they put together?
So for me specifically, I didn't do much sketching. Mine was sketching just with bricks, literally. We had one designer for a collaborative project where we had him kind of sketch a really nice version of whatever model we were trying to build. and we would kind of look at that, and that would be integrated into the PowerPoint. So we'd say, okay, well, here's so-and-so's design of this, and here's also some images that like we found online. But no, there's not like an in-house sketcher or sketch person per theme, I don't think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes?
How different does like one of those brick build sketches look from like maybe like something that we consider to be a Lego set or a mock? Like,
I think they look very similar, like the sketch itself looks very similar to the finished product.
okay.
But if you're asking about like a physical build that would be considered a sketch, drastically different. Like the overall concept, if you're building something, it's still going to be that at the end of the day. But for the models that I built, I know for a fact, I was just responsible for building like this shell, and then later functionality will be integrated into that. It's really just kind of taking a glance at like what the outside of it looks like, and then worrying about the innards. Yeah. Yeah.
What were some of the majors of the people that worked at Lego?
Ooh, that's a great question. Mechanical engineering was one, interior design, regular engineering, and let me think what else. Yeah, I think a lot of engineering people. There were some design majors, just general design majors, but I was the only communication half major, and then like design was the other half. So yeah. In college, I should mention also, university works very differently for all these people in their respective countries. So for me, I had to fulfill like 12 credit hours. For some of the interns, they actually had to stay 2 semesters because their university required 2 semesters of an internship. So some of them are still there now, my understanding is. Whereas for me, it could just be half a semester. So yeah. Yeah?
What type of CAD design software were you using?
What type of what?
CAD design, like computer graphic design?
Sure. Adobe Creative Suite and Lego Digital Designer. Those are the 2 main ones, yeah. And then Office, like I said, Word and PowerPoint, in as much graphic design as you can do with it. But frequently walking by desk, Photoshop is open, Illustrator is open. There's not really use for Premiere or anything. Yeah, those 2. So just AI and PS, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The LDDs, was that any different from what we used?
No, the design process really varies from designer to designer. So for instance, the recently announced, what's it called, the Steamboat Willie set. When that was being designed, I would walk past one of the designers as he was designing it, and he would primarily use LDD, whereas other people would just physically make like 15 different iterations of a model.
Right.
It really varies. There are some models, I will say this, that are preferred to be designed in person, so that something physical can be brought to a meeting, especially something that's expected to have high functionality or good use of space. It's really recommended that those be built in person, and then you can bring it to a meeting and you can literally peer inside of it or disassemble it as needed. I'll mention also in meetings, sometimes if it gets a little boring, God forbid, people will be playing with their models just to pass time. It's really entertaining to see. And eating cake too, yeah. Yes?
What was the most disappointing thing?
The most disappointing thing, that I couldn't take the brick stock home with me. Let me think what else too.
How do you like the weather?
The weather was really disappointing. Denmark is up north. I get like, I'm very sensitive to temperature, so it's nice to be able to bike in like gym shorts, a t-shirt, and a little raincoat while it's like 50 degrees outside. But I really love sunlight, and it does take a little bit of a toll on you when there's as much darkness as there is with the weather. But yeah, when it's sunny, it's really nice. Like all the interns were outside, when we were back home, like working on our papers at home. Yeah. Yeah.
What was the age range of all of your coworkers?
Of the interns, it was, I think I was the second youngest. There was someone that was 18, so 18 to 27. Amongst designers, it was like 23 to 65, something like that. So there was one individual that's been there for 30-something years. He's like a veteran designer. He's a senior designer. And he built sets for many of the designers when they were kids. So he's kind of there, yeah, they get to work alongside him. Yeah. Yes?
How big is Billund?
Billund itself is, the town has 5,000 people. Dimensionally, I don't know. I'll give you this. The state of Denmark, something's wrong in the state of Denmark. The country of Denmark is smaller than the state I'm from. So basically the entire country is smaller than the state of Kentucky. So Billund itself is one of the smallest towns in Denmark. It's primarily farmland, and then you have the Lego group's presence in the urban part of it.
Might be smaller than my town.
Maybe, I don't know. All right. Anybody? Yeah.
What kind of things were there to do outside of Lego? Like, what did you do on your weekends? Like, did you get to go to, like, was traveling to Copenhagen reasonable? Things like that while you were there?
I had a good amount of stuff to do on weekends. Schoolwork was one of them, but I would go to church in this one city called Vila, and that's where I would do a lot of my off-road biking and try not to trash my Lego bike, but have fun doing it. I would go to a water park they had, work out, go to the gym, build Lego at home. Sometimes go to Innovation House on the weekends. I did that a few times. One weekend I went to Germany to visit my friend Noah, who's here, and his family was gracious enough to host me and just keep me for a weekend, and that was really fun. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do. All right, and I'm thinking I'm gonna end it there. Thank you guys.